This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Mo Kabe sneered, well said. Mo Xiaochuan had trespassed the forbidden area, so he would be crippled of his cultivation and expelled from the sect. Wan Feng clan, are you ready? Mo Wanfeng's expression finally changed. With a look of deep sorrow, he said, if not for big brother Douchen, Wan Feng would have died outside. After living for so many years, he'll be content if he can return this life to his son. He knelt down on the throne and said in a clear voice, I hope that the ancestral elders and the 6 great elders will give us their blessings on account of big brother Douchen's great contribution to the family and Wanfeng's silent contribution over the years. He suddenly kowtowed without using any vital qi. Bang! The green rocks in front of the hall immediately shattered, and blood flowed in all directions. A sense of sorrow spread throughout the hall. Everyone's expression changed, and they revealed looks of compassion. The 6 grand elders also frowned, deep in thought. Only the ancestral elder on the throne in the middle still had his eyes closed, and his shadow kept shaking in the light. Mo Kabe's eyes shot out a sharp light as he shouted, Mo Wanfeng, the rules of the clan are the most important. As the grand elder of the clan, you actually tried to interfere with the execution of the punishment with your own body. This in itself is a violation of the rules and should be severely punished. He pointed at Mo Xiaochuan on the ground and shouted coldly, if he's forgiven again and again just because he's Mo Dushan's son, then what's the point of keeping the clan rules? I don't deny his father's contributions to the family, but I've already forgiven him twice, and it's long been offset. His shout immediately dispelled the sorrow in the hall and turned it into a sharp and solemn atmosphere. Everyone silently nodded in agreement with Mo Kabe's words. If he wanted to convince someone, he would have to punish Mo Xiaochuan severely. Mo Wanfeng raised his head, his face covered in blood, and growled, Mo Kabe, don't think that I don't know what you're planning. It's not brother Dushan's contribution that will make up for Xiaochuan this time, but my cultivation. He suddenly circulated his qi in his palms, and the golden emperor qi of the 9 heavens shot out, about to hit his dantian. Mo Wanfeng wanted to strike first and gain the upper hand. He wanted to cripple his martial emperor cultivation to win the sympathy of the grand elders and the crowd, so that they could let Mo Xiaochuan off. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect Mo Wanfeng to be so unyielding, to give up his cultivation without any attachment. It was clear that he was extremely protective of Mo Xiaochuan. Uncle Wanfeng, don't. Mo Xiaochuan, who had been lying on the ground on the verge of death, suddenly let out a blood-curdling shriek as an aura burst out of nowhere. The tears mixed with the blood flowed into his mouth, and he couldn't tell if it was bitter, or fishy. His body, which had long been injured and unable to move, actually forced itself up. His 5 fingers dug into the bluestone ground like hooks, leaving finger marks. The 6 grand elders sitting at the head of the table were all shocked. No one expected Mo Wanfeng to be so decisive, and it was too late for them to attack. The elder on the throne suddenly opened his eyes. His illusory body seemed to become more solid, and a strange power emerged from his body. He looked directly at Mo Wanfeng's palm print. The golden emperor qi that was about to hit his dantian suddenly overflowed from his palm and dissipated like smoke. Pa! Mo Wanfeng's palm landed on his elixir field, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, the emperor qi had already dissipated, and his dantian was not shattered. He was only seriously injured. Ancestor. Everyone was shocked and quickly looked at the illusionary figure on the throne. A hint of disappointment flashed through Mo Kabe's eyes. However, since the ancestral patriarch had made a move, even the 6 grand elders did not dare to disobey. They all waited for the decree. The ancestral elder's gaze fell on Mo Xiaochuan. After that attack, his figure seemed to have become fainter, and his voice seemed to have come from the netherworld. This is Douchen's son? Yes, great ancestor. He's Mo Xiaochuan, big brother Douchen's only biological son. Mo Wanfeng hurriedly dragged his heavily injured body and knelt on the ground. After big brother Douchen passed away, I've been raising Xiaochuan. Wan Feng is willing to bear the punishment for his poor discipline. The ancestral patriarch's voice was emotionless and faint as he said, Dochin has a divine body and shocking talent. He's the most promising person in the Mo family for thousands of years to reach the ultimate realm of martial arts. I didn't expect him to die so early. I have a certain responsibility for this. However, his son, Lao Ai, raised his eyes and glanced at Mo Xiaochuan before sighing. A tiger father and a dog son. He has very mediocre talent. He only reached the Tri-Elements realm at the age of 8 and didn't even have the qualifications to enter the Mo family's elite pavilion. Wan Feng, you're truly foolish to give up your entire cultivation for such a son. Elder, if it wasn't for big brother Dochin saving my life, I would have died in the war, Mo Wan Feng said with determination. I've always treated Xiao Chuan as my own son, and it's the father's fault for not taking care of the child. I'm the one to be blamed, so I naturally have to be punished for my son. Mo Xiaochuan's 10 fingers were already buried in the ground. His thin and frail body trembled as he cried, Uncle Wan Feng, I'm useless. It's not your fault. Grand-elders and grand-elders, if you want to punish someone, please punish me. It has nothing to do with Uncle Wan Feng. One of the grand-elders in the upper left corner suddenly said coldly, if it wasn't for Wan Feng protecting you time and time again, you would have broken the clan rules and been chased out. You're a disgrace to your father. His sarcastic words were like a sharp blade, cutting through the heart of an 8-year-old boy. Mo Xiaochuan gritted his teeth in pain, unable to even let out a groan. This is the last time, the ancestral patriarch sighed. After this, if you break the rules again, you will be punished according to the law. There is no need to alarm us. We will obey the decree. Everyone stood up and bowed. The shadow of the ancestral elder closed his eyes again and gradually disappeared from the throne. Mo Wan Feng forced his injured body forward and helped Mo Xiaochuan up. Another child ran out from behind Mo Wan Feng. He looked at the bloodstains on Mo Xiaochuan's body in fear and clenched his fists. Brother Xiaochuan, I'm going to become a great alchemist in the future. If you get beaten up again, I'll be able to help you. Mo Xiaochuan lowered his head. Although the injuries on his body were severe, they were not as painful as the knife-like pain in his heart. Huayuan, let's go. Mo Wan Feng picked Mo Xiaochuan up and left the torture chamber. There was a clamor of discussion behind him, and the people of the Mo family left one after another. If not for Mo Xiaochuan's special status, he would not have called for a meeting with the entire sect. Mo Kabei's face was filled with maliciousness as he looked at Mo Wanfeng's back and didn't speak for a long time. When the crowd dispersed, there was only one Taisheng elder left. It was the one who had spoken earlier, and also Mo Kabei's father, Mo Pingxi. He looked at his son, who was deep in thought, and asked doubtfully, what are you still thinking about? Mo Kabei said, Father, the ancestral elders have doted on Mo Xiaochuan too much. I can't believe you let him go for the 3rd time. This is really hard to accept. Mo Pingxi said, this is the decision of the ancestors. Who dares to disobey? As the clan leader, you should just act according to the rules. As long as you don't use your power, no one will say anything bad about you. Mo Kabei sighed, that may be true, but this is such a good opportunity. Mo Wan Feng almost destroyed his own cultivation, but the elder was still able to save him. Just what level is the ancestral patriarch's cultivation? Mo Pingxi's face was filled with fear. He paced back and forth in the empty hall and finally said, the ancestral patriarch's cultivation is heaven-defying. You don't have to guess. Even if Mo Wanfeng's cultivation is still there, he won't be a threat to you. Mo Xiaochuan's aptitude is mediocre, and he has let down father's courage in the past. Their bloodline will not be able to rise again for hundreds of years, so you can safely be the clan leader. However, I want to tell you that power and wealth are just fleeting clouds. Only martial arts is the ultimate goal of people of my generation. Yes, I will follow father's instructions. Mo Kabei humbly lowered his head, and the two of them disappeared from the hall. At night, in the Mo family's courtyard, Mo Xiaochuan knelt on the metal pole. The hundreds of hooks on the metal pole had pierced into his tender knees, and the ground was covered in blood. Mo Wanfeng looked at the bright moon in the sky with a cold expression. His eyes were filled with loneliness. Mo Huayuan looked at Mo Xiaochuan's legs, and his heart trembled. He grabbed Mo Wanfeng's legs and pleaded, "Father, brother Xiaochuan is already so badly injured. Please don't punish him anymore." Mo Wanfeng kicked his son away and yelled, "Get back. If you continue, I'll make you kneel too." Mo Huayuan cried and begged from a distance, not daring to come closer. Under the moonlight, Mo Xiaochuan's face contorted in pain, but he forced a smile and said, "Huayuan, this is none of your business. It's not the first time I've knelt on iron edge. It's very comfortable, and it's also a kind of cultivation." Mo Wanfeng shook his head. He looked up into the endless night and muttered to himself, "Today is the time of the valley rain. That person should be here by now. Why is he still not here?" Mo Xiaochuan's brows had long been twisted in pain. He asked in confusion, "Uncle Wanfeng, what did you say?" When your father was still alive, he had promised someone that they would meet in the city of Black Iron under the bright moon and sky during the rainy season this year, Mo Wanfeng said. "It's already time, but why is he still nowhere to be seen?" Mo Xiaochuan raised his hand and pointed at a huge osmanthus tree in the courtyard. "Is it that person?" Mo Wanfeng was shocked. He looked up and saw a white shadow flashing on the osmanthus tree. It was a white figure shuttling under the moonlight, laughing heartily and reciting a poem. "Where is the soul of a hero? Harmony does not see old friends. The morning wind blew at the willow and the moon, and that year, Lan Shui fell into my dreams." The white-robed figure stepped on the water like moonlight and stepped out in the air. He blended in with the surrounding environment, like a celestial being in the dark night as he slowly descended. However, his face was filled with desolation as he sighed, "I just found out that Mo Dushan is dead today. I didn't expect this trip to the city of Black Iron to be in vain." Mo Wanfeng was shocked. He didn't know how long this person had been here, but he didn't even notice it. His cultivation base was truly unfathomable. "Are you Gu Feiyang?" he asked hurriedly. The white-robed figure looked at him indifferently and said, "It doesn't matter. What's important is that Mo Dushan is dead. He missed the meeting in Black Iron City," said Jiang Chen. Then, the man in white raised his middle finger and made a disdainful gesture. Mo Wanfeng's jaw dropped, and his face was filled with black lines. He said awkwardly, "My brother has already died, how can you say that I didn't fulfill the appointment?" The man in white snorted, "If you're a man, you'll have to go to the appointment even if you die. It seems that your Mo family doesn't have any integrity. I won't accompany you any longer, so I'll take my leave." His face clearly showed his displeasure, and he was about to step on the moonlight and leave. Mo Wanfeng was anxious. He had been waiting for this person to ask for a favor, but before he could say anything, the other party was leaving. What should he do? "Hold on." Mo Xiaochuan's tender voice rang out as he stood up from the metal pole, trembling. His legs were shaking like chaff, but he did not cry out in pain. Instead, he pointed at the white-robed man in the sky and shouted, "I'll fulfill my father's promise to you. My father didn't break his promise. The Mo family is a family of honest people." The man in white looked at Mo Xiaochuan in surprise and chuckled. "Kid, you're quite ambitious. If you want to go on your father's behalf, we'll talk about it 30 years later." Mo Wanfeng took the opportunity to say, "Gu Feiyang, this man is the son of my big brother. Wanfeng has a favor to ask of you. For the sake of big brother, can you take him as your disciple and take him away from Black Iron City?" The white-robed figure was Gu Feiyang. He looked at Mo Xiaochuan and said, "Your ambition is commendable, but Mo Wanfeng, you must be joking. This kid's talent is extremely mediocre, and it will be difficult for him to even become a martial supreme in this life. What are your intentions in throwing this burden to me?" Mo Wanfeng was anxious. Mo Xiaochuan's current condition was no longer suitable for him to stay in Black Iron City. "Didn't you make an appointment with Big Brother because you wanted to see the Mo family's unparalleled divine skill, the Thousand Expedition noble art?" As long as you accept him as your disciple, I'll demonstrate it to you. Mo Xiaochuan was in disbelief. Uncle Wanfeng, no. The 1,000 righteous noble art is the biggest secret of the family. If you were to spread it, you would be sentenced to death, and you would also implicate Huayuan's little brother and aunt. He had sneaked into the clan's forbidden grounds several times in order to secretly learn this clan protection treasure, the unrivaled technique 1,000 feet noble art. He didn't expect Mo Wanfeng to promise to show it to outsiders so easily. Although he didn't teach it to them, he had already violated the rules of the clan. Gu Feiyang's expression immediately disappointed Mo Wanfeng, and he even felt despair. He originally thought that the other party would be moved, or at least hesitate, but he did not expect that the other party would only sneer disdainfully and mock. Only Mo Dushan and your ancestor, who has lived for who knows how many years, can display the essence of your Mo clan's 1,000 spirit noble art. As for the rest of them, sorry, but to be fair, they're all dog. Shh. *T. I'll only feel contempt if I see them. You coward. Mo Wanfeng was furious, but he could do nothing about it. The other party's strength was unfathomable. Just from the fact that he didn't know when he had come to the small courtyard, he knew that he was definitely not this person's opponent. The decision to accept a disciple or not was up to the other party, and he had no choice. Uncle Wanfeng doesn't need to beg him, Mo Xiaochuan replied. Father once said that those who know will not speak, and those who speak will not know. This man is boastful, so I don't think he has any real ability. How can I be better off following him than following Uncle Wanfeng? Gu Feiyang's expression was still indifferent. He chuckled and said, a child knows how to goad others into action. Besides your father, there is no one else in the Mo family who is useful. In addition, with your humble talent, you won't be able to make it big no matter who you follow. What an arrogant tone. Suddenly, a cold shout came from the sky. The space in the courtyard was distorted, and two people walked out together. It was Mo Kabe and Mo Pingxi. Both of them had cold expressions on their faces. They looked at Gu Feiyang indifferently, and then their eyes fell on Mo Wanfeng. Wanfeng, how dare you? Mo Pingxi shouted coldly. As the first elder of our clan, how dare you leak our unparalleled secret art? Mo Wanfeng's expression changed drastically. This crime could not be pardoned. Otherwise, not only would Mo Xiaochuan be punished, but his entire family would also be executed. He immediately denied, Grand Supreme Elder Pingxi, you need evidence to speak. Mo Pingxi's expression changed slightly. Even though they had heard what they had said, they had been targeting Mo Wanfeng for a long time. Their words would not be convincing, especially if the ancestral elders would not believe them. It would not be enough to deal with Mo Wanfeng. All right, just you wait. I'll first capture this brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and then make him confess that he conspired with you to learn the family's secret art. Let's see how you'll deny it. A cruel smile appeared on Mo Pingxi's face. Mo Wanfeng's face changed, and he said, Gu Feiyang, run. He was deeply afraid that Gu Feiyang would be captured by these two people and forced to reveal that he had leaked the family's secret art. If that happened, he would lose the entire game. Gu Feiyang, right? Kubei, have you ever heard of this person? Mo Pingxi snorted arrogantly, a look of disdain on his face. Mo Kubei was also in a good mood. He chuckled and said, I think I've heard of him before. I think he's a 9 Heavens martial sovereign who's appeared in recent years. He seems to be quite famous on the continent. However, since they dared to break into our Black Iron City, they must have some unparalleled skills. Father, what if we can't beat them? Ha! 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 Mo Pingxi also stroked his beard and laughed. Kabe, then you'll have to ask him for advice. A martial arts practitioner should have the spirit of shamelessness to ask others. Yes, father. Mo Kabe laughed contemptuously. In his eyes, Gu Feiyang was like a grasshopper that could be crushed at any time. Once this is settled, the ancestral elders will naturally take back the 1,000 feet noble art from Mo Wanfeng. I'll ask the ancestral elders to teach it to you then. Mo Pingxi said. Mo Wanfeng's face turned pale. By go back, he meant to destroy his cultivation. Thank you, father. Emo Kabe was overjoyed and said excitedly. As the Emo clan's clan head, he was not qualified to cultivate the thousand spirit noble technique, which had always been a sore point. At the thought that he would soon be able to possess the family's unparalleled technique, his aura burst out as he stared at Yunxiao with killing intent in his eyes and laughed. Kid, I really have to thank you this time. Feiyang looked at them talking to themselves for a while and said, a little speechless, two lunatics. Emo Kabe flew into a rage and shouted, you're really courting death. If you want to see the 1,000 feet noble art, maybe in your next life. The cold moon is silent, and the wave-like saber chi is clear. He turned into a green light shadow, and a large lanya sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Under the moonlight, the cold light shone on people, and he slashed down from the sky. The emperor chi of the 9 heavens was shot out from the blade light. The moonlight seemed to be condensed in this blade. Wherever the moonlight shone, the blade light would fall. Even though Emo Kabe was disdainful of him, he decided not to underestimate his opponent since his opponent was also a martial emperor. Although the Emo family of Black Iron City wasn't as powerful as the 7 super forces, it was still a powerful family. The clan leader's cultivation base was naturally also a powerful expert, one of the most famous heroes in the world. Emo Wanfeng's heart was immediately in his throat. If it were anyone else, they would not dare to take Emo Kabe's blade head-on without using the 1,000 feet noble technique. Feiyang's expression was still indifferent. He stepped on the moonlight and dodged the blade light. Then, he punched the back of the blade, making a clear dragon roar and tearing the quiet night apart. What? Vajra fist? Everyone in the courtyard widened their eyes in shock. Feiyang's light steps seemed ordinary, but it stirred up a storm in Emo Pingxi and Emo Wanfeng's hearts. How many people in the world could take such a step under the clear waves and cold moon blade light? Then, Feiyang's simple Vajra fist made Emo Kabe's entire arm numb, and the emperor chi around him felt like it was about to collapse. You dare to show off any funny martial arts technique in front of me? Is your Emo family a circus? After saying this, Feiyang took another step forward and formed a golden floating life seal with both hands. It directly shattered Emo Kabe's protective genuine chi and then hit his chest with a loud bang. Blood splattered under the moonlight. Emo Kabe was seen flying down like a kite with a broken string. He crashed into several walls and lay on a pile of rocks, his life or death unknown. The entire night fell into a terrifying silence. Emo Pingxi even forgot to check on his son's injuries. He was stunned. He couldn't accept what had just happened. A battle between 2 martial sovereigns should at least cause the mountains to collapse, the earth to crack, the sky to shatter, and even half the city to be destroyed. He was ready to release the signal at the first moment and activate the defense in the city to prevent the impact from being too big. Feiyang was still standing quietly in the air as before. He said indifferently, is there anyone else who wants to be funny? Magnet. Finally, they realized what was going on. Emo Pingxi backed off in shock, almost losing his balance. Emo Wanfeng's heart was filled with shock, and his eyes were filled with horror. Emo Xiaochuan was also completely stunned. His eyes were completely lifeless as he stared blankly. A desire and determination welled up in his heart. He had to acknowledge this person as his master. He had to learn this person's skills and then avenge his father. I hold my head high for 1,000 autumns, and smile proudly in the pine forest. It's lonely at the top to find an opponent to discuss the sword with. An aged voice recited a poem in the air. A ball of faint green light appeared and spun continuously in the air above the small courtyard before gradually taking form. The sound of fighting had alarmed the entire Emo family, and experts from all walks of life had arrived. For a moment, the sky and the ground were filled with people of the Emo family. Even the other 5 grand elders had rushed over. When everyone saw the green light, they all bowed and said in unison, "Welcome, ancestral elder."